Hey guys, so this video is going to go in the Lather Games, and we're halfway through the Lather Games, but I told you guys a couple of videos ago that I just wasn't going to be able to devote as much time to it as I have in the past. And I have been, on the days that I've shaved this month, I've looked at the Lather Games to see if I could line something up, and it just hasn't lined up yet, but today is different. This is the War Day. I can't remember the title now. It slipped my mind, but it's a soap scent that offends, bothers, irritates, annoys, repulses, those kind of words, your significant other. Well, first one that comes to mind to me is Midnight Stag, and I really enjoy the scent, and so that's what we're using today. Chiseled Face Midnight Stag. This is the OG kind of design and version of the soap, or no, I don't think it's actually different in terms of the soap base, but it's not the new soap base by Chiseled Face. It's not that silk tallow. It's kind of their OG tallow. The blade we're going to use today is the Derby Usta. It did very well for me the last time I had it up on the line. The razor we're going to use today and the brush, a bronze Timeless. I used the Timeless Open Comb bronze most recently, and it was the 78 gap. This is the 38 gap because it's the solid bar. I really enjoy it. We're going to be using the Saponificio Varesino super high density, high mountain white kind of badger. I really enjoy it. It's one of my favorites, maybe my top 5, not quite sure. Let's go ahead and put the blade in there. I do have a few days of growth on, but we've got some pretty good channels for hair removal. Hopefully it won't be an issue. The Usta blade doesn't look like the wrapper. The wrapper doesn't actually say Usta, but the blade does. This is just my second time with the Usta blade. It was generously provided. A few of those blades were by Impressive Donut. Thank you, sir. There we go. It is a small gap in one sense, but it is not a mild razor in my opinion. And I think it's a wonderful example of how this is the 68 stainless by Timeless. So that's a bigger gap, right? No, this is a smoother razor because the gap is not the only measure of aggression. The position of the safety bar, how far away it is from the edge, the position of the top cap, how far it comes, different things like that all go into play. The angle of the blade, so many things go into play. So it's a wonderful example how the 38 to me falls easily, and I would think most people would agree. It falls between, in aggression, the 68 and the 95, even though the number does not fall in that range, the gap number. Something else special we're going to do with this shave, the challenge for today is to use the grand unified theory of lathering. That is probably a tongue-in-cheek title from a user named Merikus on Reddit, and it's his deal, and that's what we're using today, and it's pretty cool. And in terms of it's hilarious, in terms of an interesting attempt to merge kind of face lathering and bowl lathering, and I think maybe he uses this a lot, but I'm not sure exactly. The general idea here, I had to make some notes, is that we're going to be making some trips from the tub to the bowl to the face, back to the bowl, back to the face, back to the bowl, that kind of thing, because we're going to be putting on taking an early proto lather and putting that on our face first, then going back to the bowl, kind of developing the lather a little bit more, okay? Adding more water at that time, then bringing that up to the face to help the proto lather to become more mature, become more proper, then back to the bowl to finally refine what's what the lather that is in the bowl. And there were, 12 steps to the whole thing, and there are definitely a good many people out there who shave who would jump in and say, just shave. Don't bother with all that. And that's okay. That's okay if you're that way. Shave how you want to. But how about you leave us alone who like to be a little funky, who like to be a little analytical, try different things, that sort of thing. Also, note that while he may have a bunch of steps, it may seem overly complicated. Okay, he's not a dummy. He doesn't do it for no good reason. And so there are probably going to be some reasons to do it that way as we go through this process. Some reasons that jump out to me is while that proto-lather is sitting on your face, it's softening up your beard and preparing your face for the shave. There's that. As you go back and forth from the face to the bowl, you're working that lather. It's coming together maybe a little easier than a person who just whips together a quick bowl lather. That could be another plus. Also, if you're a pure face latherer, this one might be a nice thing to try, because what face latherers often say is one of the big negatives is having enough soap left over at the end of the shave, at that third pass. A lot of guys run out of soap because a lot of it goes down in that first pass down the drain. And that's just the nature of face lathering. So we're using the bowl kind of as a reservoir for lather, so you have plenty for 3 or even 4 passes. All right. So that's the general idea of today's shave. Last time I used this was August of last year. And boy, we are in June now. So, 10 months ago, something like that. It's been a while since I've used the wonderful Midnight Stag. Woo, I love it. I continue to really enjoy it. All right, so let me get my face wet, and then we'll start with the steps. Okay, step 1. And I'm kind of going to be paraphrasing because I didn't bother to print out the exact steps, but these are pretty much the steps, if I can read my handwriting. Step 1, scoop a wad of soap from your tub. Doesn't mention how much, so let's just scoop a wad. Obviously, he doesn't really care about amount too much, or he would have mentioned it. All right. Maybe as you go along in your journey, if you keep up with this method, then you'll learn how much of a wad to use, that sort of thing. I'm using a 1/4 teaspoon here, and it's very rounded. I could say that's maybe a little bit more than a 1/2 teaspoon. But since this is a face lathering kind of hybrid approach, it may need more lather. This is a lot more lather than more soap than I normally need to get even 4 passes of nice lather. But since it's got a face lathering component in it here, I'm going to go ahead and kind of act like the face lathers and overload. Smearing it into the bottom. As instructed, it says put in the bottom of your bowl thinly, in a thin layer. And that's pretty much what I normally do when I scoop, like if I'm doing samples. All right, fairly thin. Next, take a damp brush. Now that's key, right? Not soaking. A lot of people, when they go to face lather, they'll pull the brush out of the water, give it a few shakes, and then start loading with it. Obviously, that's not what we're doing here because that is a far from damp brush. That's, soaking almost. Okay, I've had my brush soaking in the water here, but let's shake out a lot of the water. I would say that is damp. Not really getting too much dripping water anymore. Now what we're going to do is work the soap in the bowl here to develop that proto lather. And it says specifically you shouldn't have to add very much water. You may not have to add any water. This particular soap likes to bubble up right away. It's kind of the old school tallow, and so you can see it kind of being light and airy and bubbly in a kind of a firm way, not a slip, slidey, slurry way like if I brought a lot of water to the table here. So I'd say this is a proto lather. So that's one of those terms. I am going to add a little bit of water since it's so airy here. Proto lather is one of those terms that kind of differs depending on who you're talking to. I've never really needed to use the term a lot. When I've used it, I'm usually mentioning that when I bring the wet brush to this soap for the first time like I am now, I say proto lather to mean I just kind of want to mix it up into something, because then I'm going to start adding water and building it into the proper lather. I want to have that water from the brush mix with the soap from the bottom of the bowl or the soap from the brush. Instead of just the two existing separately, I want to kind of work them together for a little bit. And that's kind of how I use the term proto lather. Well, we've got a lot of early stuff. Okay, so now after we've got that, go to the face and do like a standard face lather as you build the lather up on your face. Said standard face lathering practices. So maybe that means to occasionally add, some water. Brush feels nice, pretty dense, but it's got enough loft to where I don't get a lot of jabbing. We've got a lot of airy, kind of thick, dry lather on my face. It could be this procedure also. Maybe it avoids some of the face lathering problems that I have. Like when I get my lather to a wet enough point to where I like it, usually by that time it's been flinging off if I'm just doing a pure face lathering type procedure. Obviously, we're not having too much lather flinging off because it's kind of thick at this point. It's too dry. Also, let us remember not to knock a new technique just because there are a few steps in it, because obviously, if you do it for a while, it can become second nature. Also, I could be representing it a little poorly. Maybe I should have been moving on to the next steps by now. You know what? All right, so I think this is pretty good for a standard face lather because we are going to come back another time, so I don't think I need to finish anything at this point. Now take the brush back to the bowl, adding water as needed to kind of build up a proper lather. Awesome smell. Okay, starting to look like a nicer lather. A little wetter. Slicker. Not going to use my normal methods of tracking water. Since it is a departure from my norm. I was thinking I'd be able to get back into the Lather Games with at least one shave, right? So I'm glad to be doing that. Of course, everybody's different in terms of what lather they'd like to see. At this stage, you know, we're building the, kind of completing the lather in the bowl probably is what we're supposed to be doing. And if you like it dry, then you'll be stopping already. If you're like me and you want it really wet and really slick, you'll keep on going. I think that is probably going to be as far as we need to take it. That is a wonderful, luscious lather. What's on my face right now, see, is not as wet as this, and I'm getting some itchy, kind of irritation feeling, more of an itchy than an irritation. But I could see if you've got to concentrate kind of on your face. If you are susceptible to different high concentrations of certain chemicals, then this may be a bad technique for you. My normal method, where you're really getting a really wet lather, is going to have a more diluted concentration of oils and things, and so that might be better, easier on some people's skin. All right, now we've done that. Now back to the face to refine that lather with a little bit more water. So now we've got this in the reservoir waiting for maybe the second and third pass. So now we're going to go back here, just kind of refine the face. And like it said, maybe I need to scoop up some more water here. Oh, what a great scent. Okay, let's just call that good. This is kind of a messy method in this case. Clean off my hands a little bit. All right, timeless. Oh, are we done now? Yeah, I assume now I do my first pass, and because at the end of this step, it said, you know, go back to your face, refine that lather with some more water in preparation for your first pass. And then it said, finalize the bowl lather, because then you're going to have plenty for your second and third pass. And so it was a little unclear as to whether I'm supposed to do my first pass now before I go back and finalize the bowl lather. It probably doesn't matter too much. I'm going to assume I go ahead and do it now. So here we go. The Usta in the Timeless Bronze, a razor I really do enjoy. I classify it kind of in the medium spectrum, and right now it is dealing very comfortably and without any clogging issues with my multiple day growth. So this sounds like it feels like a very good razor and blade combo. I think I'm liking this Usta from, this is the second shave with it, and so the first and the second shave have gone very well. Gun is what you say when you try to say gone and done at the same time. Oh, this feels good. Easily cutting through multiple days of growth without any tugging. Very, very nice. Again, I'll check, see if I've got any buildup. Nope, we are looking good. And that's without undoing the head, of course, anything like that. The Usta, actually, a couple days ago when I used it for the first time, I have a bump right here that it sheared the top off of. Got a little weeper there. And then somewhere over here I have another bump that it got as well. So it's a sharp blade. And that was a more aggressive razor. So it seems like this more mild razor than the open comb bronze. Perhaps for my skin at least, handles this blade a lot nicer. I get a little water on my face. And now we'll go back for the final step of the lather building process of the GUTL, the Grand Unified Theory of Lathering, as prescribed, as used, as made famous by merikus. Okay, I'm refining. The brush here was on my face a minute ago, and so it had that concentration on it. So now I'm just remixing it with what's in the bowl here. So I think this doesn't really have to be a slow method. So I don't think that it's fair to assign that, weakness to it. Really hasn't taken too long, and I've been explaining things and talking about things. I'm definitely going to end up with a lot more lather than I need. So, it would be prudent to reduce that wad that was recommended in the beginning to something smaller. The lather is feeling good. This is a good soap to use it on too, because it's a well-known, well-regarded soap that performs well and has done that for years. It's not as elite as some of the newer offerings these days. Like when I hydrate it to my personal hydration point, it's kind of a little airy. It just doesn't quite get as creamy as some of the other bases out there. However, it's wonderfully slick, gets the job done nicely every time. And I've always said for years now that the awesomeness that I enjoy from Chiseled Face is their wonderful scents. And so as long as they have a reasonable soap base to put their scents in, then I'm going to keep buying their products and keep recommending them as good ones. They tried to kind of have a top tier base with the silk tallow, but don't think it quite hit the mark for one reason. It takes a lot of soap, like 3-4 times as much soap for me to get as much lather. But it's a wonderful lather when you do. All right, there we go. A little residual slickness. A little water on my face to kind of prepare for the next one. Third pass here. Plenty of lather. I probably got another 3 passes of lather here. Does this method offer anything that my own personal method doesn't? I don't think so. Even if I were to back off on the soap and I wouldn't be, I wouldn't have my hands all up in the soap, I don't think this gives me anything that, because it's definitely not faster necessarily. It doesn't have the simplicity of not having to wash a bowl. Sometimes that's a thing that face latherers like to cite as an added complication that they don't enjoy. Pretty easy to keep this razor and blade in the right angle for some good cutting. That's good. Don't think I've opened up any weepers or anything this time. I did. That same one right over there. A little bump I've got right there. It's kind of a mole without a discoloration right next to my ear. The one on my, I bet it was right here before. All right, well, there we go. So this is using a lather that's a little bit more dry than my normal method. And so in that sense, I think my method is a little better with that. I think I like better because my method waits until the lather is at a wetter concentration to put it on my face instead of putting that kind of proto lather on that's more concentrated. I think I have some irritation on my face perhaps because of that. It may be because of the very sharp Usta blade. I'm not sure right now, but that could be something. But hey, sometimes that multi-stage, I've done a few guys versions of shaving with this multi-stage concept where you do work the brush a little bit and then you put that on your face. I think it was shown. He has like an O with an umlaut or something with his name on YouTube, and so I always trip over how to try to pronounce it correctly. Sean, maybe it's just an Sean. I don't know. But he sent me a method one time that I think he was using like super hot water that he microwaved with Williams. I think maybe it was a Williams method, and he would dip the water in that, get a little bit of wet, put that slurry on your face, then go back, that kind of thing. And so I've done a couple of methods like this. So I think it's pretty reasonable. It might be right up your alley if you want to give it a shot. I will go and get the actual words, paste them into the description of this video. If I can't fit it there, I will add a link to where you can go and get them if you want to try this method. And like I said, it's one of those things where it sounds complicated when you look at it on a page. But as you saw me do it, it wasn't really all that complicated to take care of. Let me go get a full rinse. All right, there's a good rinse. Got a nice shave. Yeah, a little bit of tenderness here, as I described earlier. I did have to add a good bit of water to things because you saw how much I had in my bowl, all that lather. That's because I got started with such a big wad of soap. And I definitely could have perhaps stuck with maybe my normal amount. I didn't need to come at it from a face latherer's point of view because after all, the bowl is helping us to keep some of that lather reserved, that sort of thing. And if you do have a ton of extra on that first pass, then you can just kind of scrape it off and wipe it into the bowl, just in case you want to make sure that you have more later. Like if you have not used as much soap as I did, then you might want to do that. Obviously, I didn't need to because I had so much lather. All right, well, merikus, there you go. That is your method as impersonated, as followed by me from the directions that I had on the shave of the day instructions for today. So glad you guys could join. Let us do the chisel face splash, the matching old school labeling there, pretty cool. I got this set from Cosmo Barber. He used it 2 years ago, August, for austere August, the Lather Games, the Midnight Stag Challenge. And then I won it in a charity kind of thing, and so then I used it for last year's austere August. Ah, that smells good. And so I will cap that up. That is hallowed elixir. And fortunately, I'm such a hoarder regarding shave stuff that it wasn't too far. It hadn't moved very far in 10 months. Just took a little bit of looking. And so the soap, there we go. I've got the EDT right here as well. I've got some more work to do tonight. And so let us, sometimes when you put something on your face, you go nose blind to it quicker. And so maybe the wrists sprays here won't help very much. But, oh, no, they do help. Oh, I forgot about this because I so often either only use an EDT. I don't often use both the splash and the EDT in the same shave. Oh, there are some neat notes that you don't get in the splash that you do get. These, oh, kind of a more intense woody note, a more mature kind of roasted woody note, as well as some other parts, maybe a little bit stronger leather or something like that. I don't know that I'm qualified to describe it properly, but it is a more mature version, a lot more interesting and more enjoyable. So I'm glad I put it on my wrist because I'll enjoy that for the rest of the evening, probably the first hours of tomorrow as well. No doubt the Midnight Stag will give me good dreams tonight. All right. Anything else to cover? Timeless did so well. The Usta. If we're going to judge things by the first two shaves, then this blade is on its way to becoming a favorite. Thank you to Impressive Donut. The Usta from Derby. How about that? I'll have to check and see if there is a supplier as I'm kind of rinsing my parts off here, drying them off and rinsing them off. See if there's a place where I can get, a larger quantity of those, because I'm liking it and I only have like 3 blades. So I think I might have to remedy that if at all possible. And this bronze Timeless continues to just be a wonderful, wonderful razor. Very clunky, bulky, kind of heavy. When I first saw the base plate here, I mean, look how chunky that is. There's just not much to it. It is like a little thug you stick in a corner. And man, but he works really well for me. All right, I think that's today's oh, I did fling some suds. We have collateral damage here on some of the other stuff laying around. Got to clean that up. So today's challenge was to do for the Lather Games, was to do the Grand Unified Theory of Lathering by Merikus. And then the main theme of today's soap was the war. Wear something that offends your significant other in some way. And I think we all in this shaving hobby have tried something that they didn't like. Even if it's not something strong like the Midnight Stag, even if it's just something like a tobacco can be polarizing, like Tom Ford's scents that we have, like that Sterling has duplicated, the tobacco and the oud, tobacco and vanilla as well. I think that's the one I was thinking about. Those can be, sometimes with women they don't like those. And Old Spice, for my particular wife, Old Spice is something she does not enjoy because it reminds her about her dad, and for the most part, those are negative memories. And I'm sure some of you guys' significant other is in a similar boat. Well, there we go. Great shave. Thank you to you guys for watching. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I hope that this one has something for you to help you along in your journey. You guys, take care.